So for every character, I start by sculpting the face of the character. These were the references I used for this project, and it's actually quite important to pick out the references early on so that they will help guide your character modeling choices. So I start by making very simple shapes for the head, the ears, and the neck. And after that is done, I sculpt details on top of those basic forms. I add in other extra features like the nose. I sculpt those in place, and then I join that with the other block out and just smooth out the transitions. For the other features of the face like the eyes, I added them in by using mostly the grab brush, crease brush, and the smooth brush. I also sculpted in a placeholder hair. I used the Laughing Wax brush to select the part of the character hair that I wanted to extract, and then I used the mask extract option to make it a separate mesh. And for the part of the hair that extended downwards, I extruded some edges and used the skin modifier to make them thick. I also added in a displacement modifier just to add a little bit of randomness to the hair. The same technique goes for sculpting the body. I used very simple objects to make the forms of the body, and then I sculpted details on top of that. I added in a hand model that I already made in previous project just to save myself some time, and you can actually get my character asset library files from my Gumroad if you would like to save yourself some time while working on your next project. I will leave a link in the description, and you can also feel free to download other free assets while you're there. So for this character, I decided to only topologize the body of the character. I didn't see any need to topologize the head since I knew it was not going to be animated, or I wasn't just going to do anything with the head of the character, so I didn't see any need to topologize it. So I just only did the topology for the body of the character. Right now, I'm placing a very simple rig to deform my character. I used the default Rigify MetaHuman rig and deleted the bones I didn't need, and I placed the remaining bones according to the proportions of my characters. I then used Blender's automatic weighting system to bind my characters to the rig. And since the hair was not retopologized, I just parented the head sculpt directly to the head bone of the rig. The hair grooming for this character was actually quite simple. I started out with the base hair. This part of the hair was just to have a base that covered the whole scalp of the character so that there were no gaps in between. And then I created another hair system for the big hair strands. I changed a few settings to get them the way I wanted, and I groomed those in place. I also duplicated that same hair system and used them for the parts of the hair that extended downwards. When I was modeling the clothes, I actually tried out two different approaches. The first method was to model the general shape of the clothes and then run the simulation. This method didn't really work well because the cloth just tends to lose its shape. So for the second method, I modeled the clothes in the exact shape and forms I needed them to be in, and then I pinned some of the edges and face for the cloth simulation so that when I run the cloth simulation, the cloth actually retains its shapes while still having some realistic fold. So if you want to learn more about the various techniques I used in creating this character, I've actually uploaded both my finished project files and the real-time process videos to my Gumroad. So make sure to check that out if you're interested. Right here, I'm making some poses for the character to see which of them would generally fit the style of the character. I actually went ahead and added some IK bones to the rig just to make posing a little bit easier. And here you can see what I'm talking about. When I run the cloth simulation, I'm still able to have realistic folds and also retain the overall look I want for the clothes of the character. I then simulated the clothes for the two final poses, and then I applied the cloth simulation to the mesh so that it's now a static mesh. For lighting of the character, I used a very basic 3-point lighting. That is a ring light, a key light, and a fill light. I then added a gobo light to cast the gobo shadows on just the background plane, and I was able to achieve that with the help of the new Blender's light linking system. For the texturing of this character, I use very simple texturing methods. I use the vertex paint mode to just paint directly on the lips and add subtle color changes around the face of the character. And then to finalize the sculpt, I model basic props for the scene using basic modeling techniques. And then I do some final test renders, make some final changes to the materials. I then set up my scene for rendering by adding different cameras to the different frames in the animation timeline. And these were the final renders after some post-processing.